we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Thank you so much for joining me for this brand new interview. You see, I have someone here once again, a very special guest here. You may have seen them on AEW and AEW Dark alongside tag teaming with Brian Pillman Jr. But not only that, he's had a decorated career, all the way back. He's even been in some promotions that you may have heard before, such as Ring of Honor, and going back to those promotions over there. And also, he has a high IQ of 130, which that's something that very few wrestlers have to showcase nowadays. But not only that, great singles competitor, great tag team specialist, of course. So enough of the preliminaries. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the one and only Griff Garrison. How are you?
I'm good, Sock Monkey Mike. How are you, man? I'm good, dude. I'm so excited. Today's a great day. Every day's a great day, but, I'm glad I get to be on here with you and talk about wrestling, man. That's one of my favorite things to do, so I'm really glad to be here.
Of course. And when it talks to Griff Garrison, I mean, you've really been making waves as of late, being on AEW television, whether that was going one-on-one against MJF or being in tag team action alongside with Brian Pillman Jr. in the quote-unquote return of the Hollywood Blondes potentially. How does it feel just knowing that you're at a young age, just having all this happen so fast?
It's overwhelming, but it's overwhelming and it's in a good way just because it kind of came out of nowhere. And like I've said, I've told people this, 2020 has been a blessing in disguise because like I said, when 2020 first started and this whole pandemic hit, all the shows I were doing stopped. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know when I'm going to wrestle again. All of a sudden, one day I just get a call and it's like, hey man, you're coming to AEW next week. And I'm like, oh, this is it. This is make or break time. And wrestled my first trip down there, I wrestled Jimmy Havoc and Lance. And I guess they were just impressed with me, and they kept bringing me back. And they still have. Ever since the first time I went down there, I've only missed one trip. And but yeah, man, it's overwhelming, but in such a good way, just because like all this attention's kind of came to me, and I just never knew it was going to be this quick. And being at such a young age, it's really humbling. But like it's fun, man. It's so fun. Like I love what I'm doing. Like AEW, like guys, if you want to wrestle, and you want to be around people that are positive, that will actually give you good feedback and everything like that, AEW is the place to be, man. That place is just, they have changed the landscape of professional wrestling, and it's just, I love what they're doing. And to be a part of that crew, man, it's overwhelming, but it's so much fun.
Absolutely. And just like you mentioned before, just how it's gone so quick and just everything happening, with the exposure and the great media attention that you've been grabbing as well. One question I do have to ask is the one media attention that got you, I think, not only yourself, but of course your tag team partner, Brian Pillman Jr. And I actually talked to Brian recently about this as well. And I'm talking about the whole angle spot on AEW Dynamite where you and Brian Pillman Jr. were in the front row and you were doing the world famous Hollywood Blondes taunt. Yeah. I know you've answered this question probably many, many times, but I probably have to ask this. Is there a chance that AEW will witness the resurrection of the Hollywood Blondes?
Is there a chance that AEW will witness the resurrection of Hollywood Blondes? No.
Or just the Blondes?
The Blondes, a Blondes themed gimmick, there's a chance. Yes, I have to admit there will be a chance. And it's weird how it happened. Like we were just sitting in the front row. I came in there, I sat first. He came and sat beside me, just like we didn't think anything of it. All of a sudden, the camera's panning down, from the start of the show, and it stops on us, and we get a red light. And all of a sudden, I feel someone playing with my hair. I look over, it's Brian. He's playing with my hair, and then he starts doing this, and I was like, okay. And I just started doing it with him. And next thing I know, I check my phone, and Twitter's blowing up. Oh my God, it's the return of the Hollywood Blondes. Did you see Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. doing the people are going crazy. And I was like, I looked at him, I was like, we may have something here, So I was like, yeah, I think there's definitely a chance you might see a blonde persona in AEW for sure.
Right. Hopefully we might see the gear in development. Maybe we might see something of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We don't know. Or maybe even a throwback to the Hollywood Blondes, maybe as a tribute. I'm excited to see anything, in general.
Right. Yeah. We're working on it, so we'll see what we can do.
And speaking about the potential of the Blondes being in AEW, I do want to talk about the brand new AEW tag team champs in the Young Bucks. Now, they once again, or they did become AEW Tag Team Champions. And, of course, you and Brian Pillman Jr. have been an established tag team thus far, having I believe 3 wins under your belt thus far. Is there a chance that we might see Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. going after those tag team titles in the near future?
Well, what I've learned this year in 2020 is life is full of chances. So, I mean, I'm not going to say yes, but I'm also not going to say no, because this year has just been so crazy. Like, I never expected half the stuff that has happened this year to happen. So I'm going to say, like, it's probably not, the first idea on the table, but I'm definitely not going to say that there's not a chance. So, I mean, you very well could see the Blondes versus the Young Bucks for the tag titles. I mean, who knows, man? Who freaking knows? That would be sweet. That match was so crazy at Full Gear, FTR and Young Bucks, man. It made me proud to be a pro wrestler. I'll just put it that way.
Absolutely, and the way that they displayed tag team wrestling. And speaking about tag team wrestling, when it comes to tag team wrestling, Griff Garrison is not out of the park there with tag team wrestling, as you've been tag team wrestling for the majority of your career in professional wrestling. And then, of course, you do have your singles career as well, when you did debut in AEW in singles matches with talent such as Lance Archer. Do you have a preference towards singles competition or tag team competition?
I like both. I do like tag team just because I like the art of it. I like it's its own style of match, and there's just so much stuff like that you can do creatively to like set up stuff. Like, I know I'm saying this, but just go back and watch literally Young Bucks versus FTR. They did it all. Like, if you want to watch a good tag team match, watch that. Like, a great. So, but yeah, my actual tag team partner, he's hurt right now. He tore his ACL and meniscus, and he's been on the shelf for a little bit. But his name is Marcus Cross. Like you said, we've been tag teaming most of my career. I've only been wrestling for 4 years, and we've been teaming most of my time in the business. Like, we've done ROH, we've done ROH. We've wrestled guys like Dalton Castle, Joe Hendry. Last November, I think it was almost a year ago to the day. Something like that. We went to Pittsburgh and we got to wrestle the Briscoes for the ROH tag titles, and that was really cool. I think that match kind of bumped us up a notch in like our skill level, because like they were so good. They're like FTR in a way. Like, they're so good and they've perfected their craft so well that they just know every little detail, why stuff goes where, why they're doing certain things. And so I think we learned a lot from them, and that bumped us up in knowledge. So I think I think my favorite is tag team. I love tag team wrestling, but I'm definitely not scared to get in there by myself and throw some big hosses around like Lance Archer. Lance, if you're listening, I want a rematch, dog. You've attacked me twice in a row on Dark, dude. Chill out.
Well, hopefully we do get that rematch, or that match in general, in the near future. But you talk a lot about tag team wrestling. I think that with yourself and Brian Pillman Jr., as well as FTR, you're really bringing back that old tag team wrestling style again.
Right.
Whether that's from the Enforcers, Road Warrior Animal, and Road Warrior Hawk, that kind of 80s style, early 90s style of professional tag team wrestling. Is that a huge inspiration for you when it comes to your wrestling?
Yeah, I used to watch FTR back when they were in the other company, the company that I won't mention. And I was like, dang, like if I could have it, like if we could like wrestle like that as a tag team, like I'm looking at like Marcus Cross and like Brian Pillman now. I'm like, if we could wrestle like that as a tag team, just because like they're just so. The thing is with like FTR is like, they don't overcomplicate their matches, but they're just so good. Like, their psychology is just so good, and it's just like it's mind blowing. They're like, you can just tell, like they're like when they lock up, you're like, yeah, it's gonna be a fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, even their lockups mean something, and that's just really cool. So like guys are over here doing like all these like triple backflips to the floor and stuff, and like FTR's over here doing a hip toss, and it's boom, blowing the roof off the place. And so like, I don't know if like that's what I would want to do. Yeah, like, try to bring back the old school style, like, and get a pop just from like a hip toss or something like that. But yeah, so I'd say definitely like they're an inspiration to me. I mean, if you can't tell already, I've talked about them 90% of the interview. But yeah, I think like the old school kind of way is really cool. Like, I find myself watching a lot of the old like Four Horsemen matches and stuff too, like Arn and Tully and all those guys. So it's just wonderful. Like it's just so good. Like I don't know, you know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Just knowing that how tag team wrestling has progressed from back then to all the way now, and they're still using that type of style is something really special.
Yeah, I'm glad to still see it. I'm glad it's still around. So I hope more teams out there can, you know, work that style in at least a little bit in their matches. You know.
Absolutely. And I do want to transition into your kind of beginnings of professional wrestling. Of course, you mentioned before how you worked with Ring of Honor. So, what was that time like? Because Ring of Honor is a relatively big independent wrestling company, aside from, promotions like AEW, TNA. And with a promotion like Ring of Honor, where they produce like Austin Aries and Kevin Steen and El Generico, and so many professional wrestlers that have become successful now, what was it like being a part of a company that was so prestigious in developing and breaking out their stars?
It was really cool just because there was a lot of guys backstage like EVPs and like people like that that have also been in the business a very long time. Just like kind of like the EVPs at AEW, they're the ones at Ring of Honor have done it for a long time too. And just to be able to hear their feedback and critique after matches, meant a lot to me because they pull us, each and every one of them would pull us aside and be like, hey, do this, 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 and this, and that would make the whole match better. And it was like little nitpicky things, It wasn't like we totally effed up the whole match or we totally effed up one spot. It was like they broke down and they would ask us why we put this where and why we did that. And they would say, like, we'd explain and they'd be like, well, if you put this here and if you did this instead of that, it would have made it make more sense. It would have, come off better. And it, like the match would have been just that much better. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's guys like that and companies like that people have been doing this a long time and they've worked there and like the EVPs now. It really means a lot that they can help like the up and coming guys. So working there, it really helped me and it get ready for AEW. But even though I didn't even know I was going to do AEW, like it still did. It still helped me like progress from here to here. Like before I made that jump to AEW. So working at Ring of Honor was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, and it sounds like fun, especially with that kind of roster and that kind of environment. But speaking about when you mentioned it was just an all of a sudden move to AEW, I got to ask you, as the Ivy League MVP debuting on AEW Dark, what was that moment for you when you got the call, you got the email, they said that you're going to go to AEW for AEW Dark, and then you starting off your singles competition matches?
Yeah, so like I said, I got the call, and then after I hung up, I just kind of was walking in my room that I'm in right now. I was like pacing back and forth. I was like, oh my god, this is it. This is make or break, dude. You got to get your shit together. Sorry for cussing, but I was like, that's what I was saying. I was like, and then I get there, and it's just like, I get there, and once again, I was overwhelmed because I was expecting all these guys, to big time me. You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of ignore me, kind of not talk to me. But it was total opposite, man. Total opposite. Everybody there just welcomed me with open arms, and like it means something. I've said this on interviews before, but it means something when guys like Tony Khan and Chris Jericho and Cody and the Bucks and Kenny, they take time out of their day to just say, kind of stop and say, hey man, how are you? Like that sort of thing. Like, because they're so busy, they got so much going on, and for them to just kind of stop, say hey, shake your hand, and say like, hey man, like we're glad to have you, stuff like that meant a lot to me. And so that goes a long way with me, especially like I love doing what I'm doing, which is wrestling. But if I can do it with guys like that, like guys that are nice and polite and like will take time out of it, you know what I'm saying? It just makes it that much better. And everybody at AEW is that way. I have not met a single person there that has, big timed anybody or big timed me or anything like that. They're all just the sweetest people. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. Working Jimmy was fun. Working Lance was fun. And like I said earlier, they liked me, so they just kept bringing me back, and I'm there pretty much on a weekly basis now. So,
yeah, that's absolutely awesome. One thing I do want to point out is that first match you had with Jimmy Havoc, Taz gave some comments about your nickname, which Justin Roberts did announce you as the Ivy League MVP. Can you talk to us about when that announcement was made as your nickname, the Ivy League MVP? Because we really haven't heard that nickname in quite some time. So was that supposed to be just a one-time deal as your introduction, or was that supposed to stick as your AEW career?
That was my first gimmick. Okay. And like, I don't know where they found it, but I haven't used it in years. And then all of a sudden I'm watching it back and I hear commentary say that, and I'm like, oh my god. And I guess they just want to bully me and just keep saying it more and more. But no, I haven't gone by that in like 2 years, and I don't know, man. I guess Taz just wants to be funny and keep using it. It doesn't bother me, but I mean, I will go ahead and say on here on your show, I'm not the Ivy League MVP. Like, I haven't used that in forever, but I guess it just sticks because, you know, I guess Taz maybe likes to rid me or something. I don't know.
I mean, there is credit where credit's due. You did come from Guilford College, and you know that.
I am smart. I am smart. Granted, I am. Yeah. I'll brag on myself for a little bit here. I am pretty smart, but no, I technically I didn't go to an Ivy League school. He's right, but yeah. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Like I mentioned before, you got to give credit where credit's due. And speaking about credit where credit is due, you know, you talk about the transition from just going from Ring of Honor, then the pandemic had hit. You know, a lot of people lost their jobs, and you know, really was left at uncertainty. And then, of course, you get that call from AEW, and then now you're a consistent talent over in AEW Dark and AEW Dynamite. You know, do you think that this was a blessing in disguise?
Absolutely. I said that. I said that earlier. I think 2020 has been. I hate to say this out loud, but 2020 probably has been the best year of my life. Just because, career-wise and personal-wise, I won't go into details about that. But yeah, career-wise, it's just totally put me on a platform that I didn't think I was going to get to be at for like at least 8 or 10 years into the business, and I'm sitting here 4 years into the business, and it's just being able to work with the #1 wrestling company in the world. It's really, really changed my life, man, for the better. And I love being there every second. I just got back yesterday from a 10-day trip. We filmed a TV, and then we did the pay-per-view, and we filmed a TV and the Dark Wednesday. I'm sorry. But yeah, man, it's changed my life for the better. I've met so many new people, so many new friends that I have. It's just awesome, man. It's just awesome.
Absolutely. And one thing I do want to point out as well is that speaking about your beginnings in Ring of Honor, you did have shorter hair. And then, of course, you did grow it out, of course. Was there any inspiration to the new image for, you know, going from the short little crew cut hair all the way to the long locks?
There was there wasn't. I just was like, one day I was like, all right, I'm going to grow my hair out. And senior year of high school, I was 18. And it got to the awkward stage, you know, where it looks awkward, but you know, you have to like get past it for it to get long. It was curly and it looked okay, but I just cut it again. And then I think I was in college, like my sophomore year of college. I was like, all right, screw it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to just let it grow. It got to the awkward stage, and then it like a couple months after that, it just started flowing and it started looking good. And I was like, oh, I kind of like this. And I put some highlights in it, and so it made it look a little more blonde. And honestly, the highlights looked so good. People thought they were like real, like they weren't highlights, like they were just, it was natural. But, then I get to AEW, and of course everybody compares me to Jungle Boy. And Jungle Boy, I promise, I started growing my hair out way before AEW was even a thing. So I'm not, but there was really no inspiration. I just wanted to do it. I've always wanted to have a man bun. Like I always told my mom, I was like, yeah, I just really want a man bun. That'd be cool. And here we are.
Right. And, you know, speaking about that comparison to Jungle Boy Jack Perry, it all started in BTE. And then that's where it kept going on and on from there. Was there any at any point, like, you know, fans telling you, creative telling you that, you know, the whole comparison to Jungle Boy Jack Perry and yourself in terms of image wise, was that getting annoying at one point?
No, to me, it wasn't getting annoying. I don't know, like his viewpoint, Jack's viewpoint of it. But to me, it was getting me over. So I was like, let's keep this ball rolling. You know what I mean? Like, this is great. Yeah, like I said, we did that BTE thing with Dark Order, and that's where the whole "Who the F is Griff Garrison" thing started. I don't know if you watched Sammy's vlogs, but I did a bit with him where they confused the two of us. So, and actually, Sammy approached me first about it. Sammy approached me first. We did his little bit first, and then the next day we did the Dark Order skit. But yeah, I can thank Sammy, and I can thank John Silver for getting me over.
Mr. Johnny Hungy himself. And,
yeah.
And not only that, Griff, but of course, you're killing it on Dark. You're killing it on AEW Dynamite. But I do also want to talk about your tag team partnership with Brian Pillman Jr. Obviously, you guys are an organic tag team. Sadly, we don't have a theme song just yet. Is that actually in the works? Before I get on to the question.
Yes, that is in the works. We have talked to the guy that makes the music for AEW. That is in the works. Yes.
Okay, good, because we really want to see that. We love both theme songs, but we always want to just see that one instead of separate.
Right. I got you.
And of course, once getting back to my question, I was going to mention earlier, that partnership with Brian Pillman Jr. Like, what was that beginning process like? Because of course, I talked to him in a previous interview, and he said his main goal right now is to make this tag team the most functional and the most organic tag team in AEW. So, what was that beginning?
Like, how did we start?
Yes.
Name? Honestly, man, I just kind of showed up one day, and our names were beside each other. Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. I forgot who our first match was against, and I was like, "Oh, this kid's pretty good at what he does. He might yeah, that's great." So, like, honestly, it was just kind of out of nowhere. Like, no one told me, no one came up to me, no one approached me. I just showed up, and our names were on the board, and then it kind of just took off since then. But I mean, I guess it started with the whole, this thing playing with our hair, and I guess that got over enough, and so they put us in the tag team, and just kind of. From there, it just kind of took off. I mean, it wasn't really like a big story or out of nowhere. It was out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that out of nowhere was a blessing in disguise once again, as you guys are, progressing on AEW Dark. Hopefully, we get that AEW Dynamite match soon. But speaking about AEW Dynamite, you did have a one-on-one match with MJF, which, in my opinion, has to be the most heated exchange I think I've ever seen on Dynamite, where MJF being cocky, of course, and trying to overlook you, but then of course you're coming back and showing him why you're not just another talent on Dark. So right. My question to you is that what were those feelings, not just facing MJF, but like that whole match in general? Because I felt like that was your proving point that you're not just another talent, that you're Griff Garrison, the former Ivy League MVP, the guy with the high HQ, the guy that's really doing a lot of big things at an early age.
Yeah, definitely. He just kind of, I was ready for it, man. I was ready. I was confident. You could tell he was very cocky, but I was very confident. And then he just caught me off guard with that mic shot, right to the dome as soon as the match started. Or the match didn't even start. So I think it's funny that he had to cheat against me before the match started. If that didn't happen, what would you have done, Maxwell? Anyway, but yeah, I hit him eventually with the microphone because he was getting a little too cocky. So I blessed him with it, rolled him up. I thought I was going to get a 3 count as of all of America, apparently, because I've done all these interviews and stuff, and they said the same thing. Everybody thought that was going to be it, and then he kicked out and got me. But that match was fun, man. I enjoyed working with him a lot. He is a good guy. I can't say he's not. But the match itself, I really enjoyed it. Actually, the match itself, it was supposed to be on Dark, and we taped it the trip before for Dark. And then we got to the back, and Tony really liked it. He was like, "Yeah, we could probably put this on TV." And then the next trip, we just went out there for TV and did the exact same thing we did on Dark.
So was there any hard things about replicating something that was originally taped for Dark, or is it something just so natural that you could just replicate it easily?
That was natural, man. We just went out there and did it again. We just went out there and had fun and did it exactly what we did on Dark. So.
Absolutely. Well, Griff, I do want to thank you so much for being a part of this interview. But before we go, I do have one more question. So, of course, you're on AEW Dark. You've been on AEW television. Of course, you're not currently signed with AEW as of right now. What is the goal for Griff Garrison? I mean, are you in talks of a contract with AEW right now? Is there a possibility that you might be making appearances at other companies right now, especially during a time where there's literally only very few selected promotions that are accepting talent? What can you give us the exclusive for?
Well, I can't say a whole lot, but I will say that I will be at AEW every week. I'll be at AEW every week proving myself. Other companies are concerned. I doubt you'll see me anywhere else other than here. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into it, but I could say some stuff, but I can't. I'll just let the future unravel itself. But yeah, man, yeah, I'll just be here a lot, just continuing to prove myself each and every week.
Well, of course. Well, once again, Griff, thank you so much. If you guys could, check him out on Dark. Check him out on AEW television. It will be in the description below for all of his matches that he's had thus far. You could also follow him on all social medias. Link will be down in the description below. And then thank you so much once again, and I will see you guys in the next interview.